Thank you, Abba. And welcome back, everyone. What a beautiful way to start off the day. Benita set us up really nicely for this session. We didn't really plan on her talk for leading right into the value of variety trials, but some of the things she was talking about and celebrating that diversity are the same things that the three of us are going to touch on in this session. I'm Michaela Colley from Organic Seed Alliance. I'm the Northwest Research and Education Associate based in Port Townsend. I've had the pleasure of working with both Marco and Nico in variety trials with OSA and with farmers in our region and collaborative participatory trial systems. Marco Colby is from Midori Farm, and he's going to share a little bit of the practical nuts and bolts of, as a farmer who makes a living off of farming, how do you work trials into your operation and why? What is the value? What do you get out of that? And Nico is here from SeedLinked. SeedLinked is a tool to facilitate on-farm trials and facilitate sharing knowledge and knowledge exchange. And we've had the pleasure of working with Nico in several trial networks nationally, which has been really a valuable way to collect and share information over broad geographical distances and diverse partners. So I'm just going to share a little bit of perspective on conducting trials. Trials are one of my favorite things to do. I mean, it's really exciting when you see all of that diversity out in the field. I always say variety trials are also kind of the gateway to seed saving, the gateway drug, if you will, to getting hooked on wanting to keep and nurture and expand things that you really like on your farm. But your farm is also your farm. It's your climate, it's your environment, it's your opinions about what you like and don't like. It's your opportunity to differentiate your farm from other farms. We also talked a little bit about climate change in the last session and where things grow changing over time. So trials is a nice way to also keep giving a diversity of crops a chance to show themselves as being well suited to your particular condition as that changes year to year. It's also for a working farmer, really taking on a new variety or even a new crop can be a big risk. So doing trials is a nice way to sort of test out the market, test if it works in your climate, even test it with your CSA and get some feedback before you go and expand a large part of your investment of time and energy in growing something new. As I said, trials are a great way to kind of get hooked on seed saving, because when you find things you really like, you want to regenerate them. But also if you want to do some on-farm breeding, trials are where you start. What are you going to breed with? If you say, oh, I want to breed a corn that works well in the Pacific Northwest with our friends up at Viva Farm, we didn't know what worked well here. So we asked around. We sought advice from seed companies that had a focus in the northern tier across the US. And then we evaluated what they had to offer to see what worked in our particular climate, and then cross some of those varieties and are working with the farmers up at Viva to then adapt them further to their climate. As a seed saver, a lot of farmers are, there's some really valuable, important hybrids out there that are really productive, but that can be frustrating being dependent on those hybrid sources. So it's also a way to sort of compare how some of the open pollinated varieties and diversity out there might compare to the hybrids that you're using, and enable an ability to then have a little greater seed security by saving in your climate. And of course, celebrating diversity. And I think Benita spoke to that really well in our last session. So why collaborate? If you're a farmer, you want to know your farm, you want to keep all this information, not keep it to yourself, but really you're investing your time and energy to benefit your farm. What are some of the values in collaborating in trials and participating with others? We had the honor of participating in a collaborative trial program, the NOVIC, Northern Organic Vegetable Improvement Collaborative, with farmers like Marco and other farmers across the US for 12 years. And this past year, we surveyed and interviewed those farmers. There were 60 farmers from across the US that participated over that time, and asked them why they participated, what they got out of it. And more than the data and information, what came around back time and time again was the conversations and the knowledge exchange that they had, and learning from breeders, discovering new seed companies. Adaptive Seeds, that's on this call, has sort of come onto the scene over the 12 years. And a lot of the Novik farmers really rely on and look to Adaptive as a regional seed resource that maybe wasn't on their radar at the beginning of that 12-year period. So expanding. Also, when you're part of a participatory program, you're going to learn from other people's sources of seed and the varieties that they've found, and expand more diversity that you might not have found all on your own. As a small seed company or as a farmer breeder, participatory trials are also a great way to sort of get feedback from others about how they like what you're working on. So as I mentioned, I'm just going to give a little introduction and then hand it over to Marco and Nico. You can drop some questions in the chat as we go along, and we'll do our best watching time to address those as we go. And if not, we'll hold them all to the end and then continue the conversation in the comments if we get beyond our time here. So when you're doing a trial, a lot of farmers say, I do trials all the time. I buy something new every year. And that is a trial. You're trying something new you're putting on your farm. You're seeing if you like it. Try it. You might like it. But when we talk about doing a more rigorous trial, you can either do a comparative trial where you're sourcing a lot of different things and looking at them all as a single observation, or you may be ready at some point to go to the next step and do replicated trials, in which you have a certain set of varieties and you're replicating them on your farm 2, 3, 4 times across the field in a single year in a sort of scientific, replicated and randomized experimental design, which can give you a better read on that variety, how it performs across the microclimates across your field, or in variability in the irrigation patterns that you have in your field. If you're interested in learning more about experimental design and trials, I recommend Organic Seed Alliance's Grower's Guide to Conducting On-Farm Trials. There are a couple of new resources also available from the European project Live Seed that are really geared toward farmer or trial coordinators in thinking about what kind of trials best fit your needs, your opportunities, your budget, your collaborators. And so those resources are also free online to go a little deeper into different types of trials. So opportunities to collaborate. Marco and Nico may mention some more, but here in Washington State, we at Organic Seed Alliance, as I've mentioned, manage a lot of participatory trials. The Novik project has been sort of a cornerstone of our trial collaborative program over the last 12 years, but that project is coming toward an end. A lot of the trial reports, the results of those trials that have involved farmers like Marco and others on this meeting, are available through the website, the Novik website, so you can learn about the results of past trials. We also this year have availability of some carrots, some novel color carrots, some orange carrots that we've been selecting and breeding with farmers. If you're interested in trialing carrots with us, you can contact me for information. We're also part of a tomato breeding project for disease resistance, for late blight, early blight, septoria. And that project's led by Jared Zystro at Organic Seed Alliance. If you're interested in red slicing tomatoes with disease resistance, contact Jared for information. The Culinary Breeding Network, led by Lane Selman in Oregon, has been part of the Novik project, but this year she's narrowing it down, and the one project she has that she's managing that has an opportunity for Northwest trial participants is a dry farm melon trial. And this is part of the Dry Farm Collaborative, a regional group of farmers and researchers and seed companies that are working on developing varieties for dry farm in the Northwest. The Utopian Seed Project has been an organizer along with Ujamaa and Experimental Farm Network and Southern Exposure in both the Collard and Okra Ultracross project. Those ultracross populations are available from Ujamaa, Experimental Farm Network, and Southern Exposure. And Utopian Seed Project follows up with those that buy their seeds and tries to kind of have a little bit of a tracking and participatory feedback on where those collards are going, how far are they dispersing, and what are people, what's the pathway for those populations as they spread. Seed Savers Exchange also has a trial project across several crops that is actually organized through SeedLinked, and Nico's going to share a little more information about that program and how to get involved. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Marco to share a little bit of firsthand advice and experience. As I mentioned, we've worked with Nico in the Novik project as a trial collaborator. I've also seen him out in a trial field, dig up plants and then haul them back to his farm and grow them out as a population, which is one of the kind of added values of certain crops when you trial them if they haven't crossed already, just like the collard project. We had collard trials out at our farm. Melanie and I dug up plants of the ones that we liked, and that picture with her was in my front yard, kind of growing out one of the populations. So Marco has firsthand experience in, thinking through as a farmer, how do you manage it? Where do you put your energy and what are you getting out of it? So thank you, Marco, for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you.
Okay, great. Am I sharing my screen already?
I have to unshare first. There you go.
All right.
Yeah, it's now you can. Thank you.
There we go. All right, is that working?
Yes, we see you. Go ahead and put it on slideshow. Yes, good job.
Okay.
Hold on, it's not on slideshow yet. Try it.
It's not on slideshow yet. All right.
Resume slideshow. There you go.
Is that working?
Go from the beginning. Click on from the beginning on the, yep.
Okay.
All right, Rebecca, help me out here. I'm not the tech. Oh, there you go. That looks good. No, I still see it on the side, but
it looks like it's just taking a second to load.
Okay.
Perhaps that is, yeah, maybe resume slideshow in that little red box just to the left.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Thanks.
Perfect. All right, go for it.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, thanks for having me here. I'll just tell you a little bit about Midori Farm and what we do. This is a picture of Quilcene Valley where we're farming at. We're on the Northeast Olympic Peninsula in a little town called Quilcene, at the foothills of the Olympic Mountains. And those two yellow boxes are the two properties that we grow vegetables on. We have about 15 acres in field vegetable production, and we primarily grow vegetables for farmers market, for small CSA, for some direct to retail sales, and then we have a business making sauerkraut and kimchi from vegetables that we grow on the farm. And this is this will be our 16th season farming, and probably our 16th season participating in variety trials and seed growing. So we also do, we work with a couple different seed companies doing variety trials of vegetables that they're thinking of introducing commercially. And we also do contract growing for seed companies for seeds that they're going to sell through their catalog. And part of that, we'll get into a little more depth, but so we different types of variety trials that we participate or have participated in over the years. Michaela mentioned the Novik program, which we participated in for a number of years, and that is a resource, or kind of like a research focused program, which I'm sure most of you are aware of that. And then other types of breeding or variety trials that we've done are where seed companies have contacted us and asked us to trial different varieties that are not yet released through their catalog. Couple different seed companies that we work with have trialers in different regions throughout the United States. So they're trying to get an idea of whether this new variety of tomato works well for Northwest growers versus East Coast growers or Southeast growers or California growers. So regional variety trials, I guess is what I would call what we're doing with seed companies. And that has kind of grown a bit for us over the years. It's not really like, I wouldn't say it's a part of our business. We do get some financial compensation for it, but mostly we do it just out of interest in plants. And yeah, that's kind of why we participated in variety trials, I guess, over all these years is I'm a vegetable farmer, my wife and I, because we really like plants and we really like vegetables. And I've always just had a strong interest in seeing all the different varieties out there. I'm definitely a variety nerd. And so the really interesting thing about variety trials, I think, is you get to see how different varieties express themselves on your farm. I mean, not all varieties express themselves different based upon environmental conditions. So a variety that works really well for us here in our certain soil type might work really differently for someone that has a heavy clay soil or a different microclimate or is growing in a different region. So it's pretty fascinating to look at varieties that come through. Like we might be trialing 6 different varieties of kabocha squash if we're trialing something for the Novik program. So we're seeing how these 6 different ones perform in our systems. And then we might be trialing just 3 new tomato plants varieties for a seed company. And we're just mixing those tomatoes into our existing tomato growing system. So we kind of randomly will place the tomato in our greenhouse. We'll have a certain population that the seed company may ask us to do, and we'll just get to see how they do along with the other tomatoes that we've been growing for a number of years, and then evaluate them and give our feedback back to the seed companies. And every grower has different goals for why they grow vegetables. It might be that you're looking for a super uniform variety that has really high numbers of perfect vegetables that you can pack all into the box at the same size. You might be looking for vegetables that have unique flavor or color or appearance. And doing trials allows us and all growers to see what is out there and what the whole spectrum of crops are that you can choose from that will work for help you meet your goals for growing. So yeah, we do the Novik program, or we have done trials kind of for research, working with Organic Seed Alliance over the years. And then we've been doing the trials with seed companies as well. And some of those are compensated. And then sometimes seed companies have offered us just like, oh, will you trial all these 15 different varieties of daikon radish to see which ones do really well here, and we'll just give you the seed for free, basically. So that's another type of compensation that we get, is just free seed for trialing, which isn't economically significant, but it's nice. It's a nice something. We do grow a lot of cabbage on our farm, so sometimes we do just trials for our farm and for our own personal use, not in association with another organization. I believe this cabbage here that's in this picture is a variety called Dowinda, which actually came out of a project working with Organic Seed Alliance. I don't remember if it was a Novik cabbage variety. Michaela might know the answer to that.
Yep.
But it was from a biodynamic seed grower in Europe, and it was in one of the Novik trials, I believe. And we ended up really liking this variety for a slot in our cabbage planting program. We harvest about 30,000 pounds of cabbage a year for different times of year of our sauerkraut processing operation. So, and varieties are always getting dropped and brought back on. So we're trialing new varieties a lot. And when we saw this variety in the Novit program, I really liked the taste of it, and we really liked how it was holding up in long-term storage, which is a trait that we look for. So we started growing our own seed of this variety, and now we work with a seed company here in the Northwest to produce seed for them as well as seed for our own use. So just kind of a neat story of how a variety trials that you may be participating in for research can lead to something that is significant for your farm operation over time. And there's a few varieties like that we've trialed in programs that we have liked ourselves and keep growing the seed for ourselves. And another type of variety trial that you might end up doing on your farm is for breeding work. And we've done some breeding projects with Organic Seed Alliance, and we've done some breeding projects with seed companies as well. And then we've done some breeding projects for our own information and seed growing here on the farm. So for breeding variety trial, we might again trial 15 or 10 different open pollinated varieties of something and look at them side by side and see which ones have traits that are desirable. And they, depending on what the breeding goals are, I'm not really a plant breeder by training. So usually working with a trained plant breeder to make the crosses and things like that. But that's just another type of variety trial that you might encounter. And we have been doing some breeding work with seed companies where they'll give us seeds to plant and we grow them out. We might have, like, I think last year we were doing a chard crop and we had, I think, 10 families of an open pollinated chard crop that they wanted to look at for performance in the Northwest. And the plant breeders flew out to the farm while they were in the Northwest and looked at the varieties. We called out, I think, 5 of the families and then let the rest of the families cross to make the final variety, basically. So those are just another interesting thing that you get to do with variety trials. As far as tips go for managing variety trials on a vegetable farm, we basically just treat them like it's I guess that's my last picture. We basically treat it just like it's another cash crop that we're doing on the farm. And we're a mixed vegetable farm. We're super diverse. We probably have 50 varieties that we're growing, and there's different water requirements and such. But we put the variety grouped with the other plants of the same family in the same fields. So if we're doing a radish trial, we'll plant it right with our other radishes that we're growing for commercial production and treat it just as such. We'll grow it with all the same techniques that we use. A couple things that I think it's really important for vegetable farmers who are doing trials to keep in mind is make sure, if you have staff members, to make sure that all the staff is aware of what's going on in this plot. Because you want to keep your varieties separated by either a numbering system or some sort. You're working with some sort of number or names that you want to keep stakes in the ground with the variety, but then you also want to have a map that's written out by hand, replicated that in case the stakes get moved, because they almost always do, especially if you have a bunch of people who are doing cultivating or whatever. So that's a big tip, is make sure that you have your map on paper as well as having your stakes in the field, and making sure that all your staff who's working in that area is aware that this is a trial and this is why you're doing the trial, and it does require some amount of specialized care. And I think Michaela touched on this a little bit. It's also pretty valuable if you have the space and the time, if you can replicate your trial. So instead of just planting one bed with your 7 different varieties of daikon radish, that you can put it mixed up, like randomize in another bed in that same field if possible. That way you can reduce impacts of the edge effect at the beginning or the ends of fields, or different soil type variations that you might have. Yeah, we see it all the time. Plants will perform differently based upon where they're at in the field. So it's good to not just make your judgment like this variety of radicchio sucked, but it also may have been at the edge of your bed where it was getting missed by your sprinkler system half the time or something like that, or the fertility was different or things like that. So it's nice if you can replicate and randomize trials if you're going to really give them a full evaluation, which isn't always possible. And then, yeah, I would just say my other last bit of advice is just, if you want to get good information out of trials that you're doing, is just really treat it like you would a cash crop. You can't just ignore it if you're maybe because you're not getting paid for it or something like that. You want to really make sure it's going to fit into your system and that you're going to have the time and resources to manage it like it was a cash crop, and then also watch it throughout the season as it's growing. There's different data points that you might be searching for in a variety, like is it quick germinating in cool soil? How does it germinate in hot soil? What are watching if there was any variabilities in the production season, like, oh, our sprinkler system broke for part of the irrigation cycle, so it went dry for 2 weeks. Oh, but it still performed well. So just like looking at and observing everything that happened to that trial bed during the year. It could be environmental conditions. You might know that it was in an area with poor fertility, things like that. So those are like notes that you want to take to give to researchers or to your own research, just keeping really good eye on all the variables that the crop was exposed to during the trial. I think that's important as well. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Marco.
Yeah.
Really good tips. Yeah, good point at the end. I've had the pleasure of coordinating trials with many, many farms over the years. And one of the things I get the most out of it is walking the field with the farmer, because the farmer's eyes in the field see things that only someone who really knows that crop and knows that field would notice. Like, boy, that one looks like it made it even though the weeds were there. Or, we had a dry summer, but look, a few of them actually made it through. Those are really important traits to be increasingly focused on for regional resilience and adaptation.
Yeah.
Any questions for Marco before we continue? Go ahead. Yeah.
No, thanks, Marco, and you, Michaela, for laying the ground on trial and expectation and why. Yeah, thanks, Marco. It's fascinating to hear your experience.
Thank you. Nico, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you. You can continue to drop some questions in the chat if they come up for Marco. We can take them at the end. And thanks for sharing a little bit about SeedLinked. Some of the trials that we have to offer this year will be coordinated through SeedLinked as well. Bless you.
Great. Yeah, I can start. Yeah, thanks so much for having me today. Thanks, Michaela and Marco, to start talking and laying the ground on why trialing and the interest. And I'm from France originally. I've been a breeder for maybe 10 plus years in different seed company before I started to jump in this journey of building a tool that helped collaborative trialing, but not only collaborative trialing, but also how to connect all the knowledge, like just hearing Marco sharing about his experience of trial, and imagine the knowledge that come from Midori Farm every year, but how all this knowledge can be connected together to help other grower to make information from maybe Marco's information. And so this idea started yeah, maybe 10 years ago and 4 years ago, started to start building this tool, and it's been a wild journey, and I'm gonna talk about it today. First, giving a little overview of the concept, and then how maybe you can use it if you're a seed company or breeder, or if you're a farmer, how you can collaborate in trialing. And I'm gonna share my screen from now. All right, is the screen okay?
Looks good.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Well, like Michaela and Marcus say, one of the most important, I'm just gonna step a little bit further and just give kind of the concept of seedling, but one of the biggest decisions you make as a grower is what should I grow, what variety, and like we heard before, it can be challenging, and there's new variety all the time, or varieties that are discontinued. From a tomato, I think there's more than 5,000 varieties available, but oftentimes what information are available, how do you make decision, and sorting through many seed catalog, and oftentimes you don't really see information that performance for your local area, and so it just can become a very challenge. But also that we heard before, as a seed company or independent breeders that maybe work with Marco or like Michaela, facilitating some collaborative breeding or trialing, oftentimes it can be very hard to get a lot of information on place sites. It can be also very expensive, and so too often time can be very hard and expensive to get data, and data is a missing link to really make better decision from both sides, the grower or the breeder. And so, yeah, the concept is like, what if we can connect all this knowledge and the collective power of thousands of growers or hundreds of thousands of growers really to help really both sides of the seed movement, the seed local seed economy. And so that's really the mission of Seedlink, is how can we use digitalization and crowdsourced technology like smartphone to really be able to share insight, to facilitate the collaboration in trial, to facilitate running collaborative trial. And like here from Kat Baker, local farmer, we're based in Madison. What if she could use all the collective data to look at, okay, I want to look for flavor, maybe earliness here, and what variety of tomato can I find? And so that's kind of the foundation of Seedlink, to really unleash the collective insight with collaborative technology to help release the whole supply chain of seed. And so to deliver on this mission, it hasn't been easy, but so it's been 4 years in making a platform to really help those trial. And Seedlink has 3 key pillars, has a trialing, collaborative trialing, but as we heard, the interaction between people is so important, and communication. So we also have an embedded feed of social media or communication. And the third is really how to connect all this knowledge across project, across seed company, across grower together to really give collective insight to help everyone. And so the platform has 2 accounts, one more grower, where you can have an account and you can participate in trial, you can exchange with your growing community in the feed, you can search for seed, and I'm going to go over that. And more advanced account, which is more for trial manager, breeder, where you can really create large collaborative trial or smaller collaborative trial that can be through a breeding project or other goal you have. And so I'm going to start diving in for you in the audience that are maybe trial manager, breeder, extension seed company owner, or farmer who are doing breeding and want to do some collaborative testing in the region. And so Seedlink is an all-in-one trialing platform where you can really create trial, facilitate the seed shipping, data collection, communication. You can see real-time insight from, let's say Marco is in the field, is sharing information on black rot or disease on broccoli and sending picture. Everything is funneling straight to you, and you can see in right away. And also then the data become connected if you want to. So it also create information for grower to find your variety. And so we have different feature in the platform. We have multiple trial type because there's different context and different trial you might want to do. We have many features that help the facilitation of onboarding, having people collaborative to ship seed. We have, like I mentioned, communication feature. It now become multi-language as we are deploying in Europe. And there's also mobile apps that really help when you're in the field to be able to collect information, send picture and so forth. And you don't need to have a connection. You can work in offline mode. And also you have embedded analytics in the platform where you can see the results that I mentioned, and you can also export the data. And so benefit, I already talked most of it, but is really to remove the collaborative barrier that can be really detrimental to trialing. Like sometimes data is sent on paper and it's hard to get all the data back and aggregate all the information, but here it's all cloud-based and funnels. So it's become very easy, and we can run very, very large trials. For example, you heard about collards. So the Collard project, there was one trial with 250 grower on one trial, trialing more than 20 plus collards, and that was made possible by removing all those barriers of collaboration. And so with seedlings, the trialing journey, really in a few minutes, you can create a trial. You can invite people from your community via different channels. We have public link, we can via email, that is all in the platform. So you automate invitation and so forth. And then it streamlines the shipping and packing. You can download all the grower who accepted the trial with their shipping address and which varieties they are allocated, and then ship. And then all the communication is within the same platform. So you can send in from email, message, information, picture on how to review maybe black rot, broccoli, and when to do it. And then all your grower will receive a notification with some picture information, and they can see that. And like I mentioned, you can see in real time the data. And so you might be interested to, let's say, to start a collaborative trial. And a few tips here on using seedling. For example, you may have an entry list of, like, let's say 8 with a check. And your grower are busy. Not all your grower like Marco, who can plant maybe 15 daikon radish, but so we have different model in seedling where maybe you have 9 variety, and you can give each grower a subset of 3. So it's allow them to only trial 3. It's not as a burden to them. And so the platform do that for you, do the random allocation for you. And so from here, if you have 9 variety, each grower receive a subset of 3. To really get good insight, you may want to have at least 10 sites per variety. This is, let's say, in an ideal case. Things happen when you trial, like you have failure or a grower run out of time. And so success rate of collaborative trialing are, if you reach 50%, it's really good. And so if you kind of do quick math, you see like, okay, I have 9 variety, I want 3 good data, where I may need around 50 grower to trial all those variety. And it seems maybe a lot to you, but with the platform and this thousands of grower, and when I say grower, it can be master gardener as well as farmer like Marco. Quickly you can get a lot of grower. For example, here, Seed Saver Exchange is characterizing their sunflower. As this year, for example, they have an amazing sunflower trial. If you want to join, I will put the link in here, so you will see if you want to join in. Very quickly, they have 350 grower. I think 70% or 80% are a master gardener or gardener, but just to give you an example how with a platform you can really find a lot of grower and make it much easier. And here is just a slide on how the model can look like when you do a subset trial, like I mentioned. When you have 9 varieties, a platform can allocate a random 3 to each grower to make it easier. The whole goal is how to make it easier to get as much information to make the best decision. And so Seedlinked is, another part is you can pick your trait. Like Marco mentioned, you have a goal of the trial, and it's important to pick the right traits. It's also important to not ask too much to grower, and so we really recommend to ask few traits. The platform by default will ask planting dates and comments and picture and growing condition and management aspect. But yeah, and then when the trial is created and you ship the seed, you can relax a little bit, and also the platform lets you know who planted, who reviewed. You can send automated reminder. Like I mentioned, you can create posts with picture, and all the grower will receive notification. And you can look at the live results, all the results by traits, by picture. And so you don't have to wait 6, 12 months to get all the data and have all analyzed. Is really here for you through the season to even make decision. And the grower who are part of this trial, also when they complete the trial, like Marco, let's say finish a trial of pepper or tomato with seedlings, as soon as it's done, you can see the result from all the other grower, which is going to inform him to also make better decision and see what others think of those varieties and see the comment and so forth. So it's really also rewarding. From the grower side, I think Marco and Mike and I already talked quite a bit about why doing trial. And so just few points here. The platform made it easier for the grower in terms of its the way of rating and the way of entering information and seeing the results. And at Seedlink, we run also internal trial to try to make the platform better and to understand, and also working with small breeder who may have unique varieties that don't have the capacity to run their own trials. So here I want to put an example of a summer green lettuce trial with a description. And here, if you have a phone with you, you can scan the QR who gives you an example of how you can quickly sign up to a trial with Seedlink, for example. You don't have to just sign up only if you're interested to do this trial, but if you sign up, for example, you will receive 3 random variety out of a dozen from really cool breeder, from some European Sativa in Switzerland who do amazing breeding with thousands of grower to many other small, cool organization. And let's say you're part of this trial, you sign up, you create an account on Seedlink, you go on your app and you can see each card is a trial. And when you accept, so they land here on the track. You can see in new trial, you can receive notification of invitation to be invited to a new trial. In result, you can see all the result of past trial you've done, what trial you completed. In the feed, you can engage, ask question. Each trial has their own kind of Facebook group in a way within Seedlink, like a social media. So you can interact, share experience with the trial, or ask question if you see something that you don't know what it is. You can also add your own check within each trial, even if it's a collaborative trialing, you can add your own variety because it's really good to have your own reference point when you do trial. And then when you enter in the trial, you have on top the traits that the project coordinator pick. You can click on the little info box, give you a quick description of the traits. You can see the 3 variety here. You can also click on the info box and see a description of the variety, what is this variety. And then you can give scoring all through the season of the different traits. You can enter tracking date, image, comments. And when you're done, we ask question about management, your soil type, different small questions that allow to, was it in a hoop house, caterpillar, greenhouse, in order to really make those data into context. And when you're done, you can see right away the result, all the comments, all the rating as a grower, all the picture. And yeah, so that's kind of your experience here. Here is some trial. We have 2 open trial still open, a summer lettuce and a specialty bachata with Seedlink, and Seed Saver has a bunch of trial from lettuce, tomato, sunflower that are still open for maybe 1 more week. And yeah, the program at Seed Saver is amazing. They have more than 27,000 accession in their seed bank, and they use the platform Seedlinked and 700 grower to characterize most of their accession. And the favorite and the best or more interested by the people who trial in this program then become available in their catalog. It also generates a lot of information on all those heirloom and accession and variety for maybe independent breeder or local breeding project to look at all those data and maybe potentially use those heirloom as parents. And so, yeah, if you're interested in joining any of their trial, I will put those links in the resource, and or you can contact me. Another part I want to talk about is kind of the second pillar. I want to talk a bit more as we are improving it into Seedlinked. Is really creating a space within Seedlinked where you can really talk about seed discussion, where a variety of colors or cherry is really a person in a way where you can add a variety and you can really have full discussion where you can click and then see a full profile of the variety with all the data shared by the community. And so you can really build more full seed discussion into Seedlinked. You can also hashtag with traits and so forth. And so just as a quick example, if you are interested, you can download the app and start using and bringing people into the space to exchange around variety. And the last piece, like I mentioned, I'm just going to give you an example within the platform, is looking at data collected by all the trialer and people. And for example, here I'm going to open a tomato variety from tested by Seed Saver Exchange that is not available yet. But for example, here you can see by being tested by so many people, you can have a full story of all the pictures submitted around this variety, and you can see when the picture was taken by who. You can look at the rating for different traits. You can see where all the grower who tested this variety, and you can see also all the comments. So I just want to look at flavor comments here, and you can see all the flavor comments about this given variety, for example. You can also compare, like, I want to look at this cherry tomato, and maybe I'm interested to search for other tomato. Here you can sort by yield or flavor. And for example, Eagle Art is another really interesting one. And then you can look at different varieties side by side, looking at all the data shared by people, the comments, all the pictures side by side, and you can make decision on maybe what to plant next year. You can also create wish lists where you add them to your wish list, and then from your wish list you can even create your own trial here. For example, I have different wish lists here. Let's say some pepper, and a grower, you don't have to also to be part of collaborative trial, but if you want with Seedlinked also, you can, okay, I want to track those one. I have the seed and I want to create my own trial for me and collect via the Seedlinked app the information. So you can here create your trial, put a description, pick the trait that interests you. You can even invite your staff, your colleague or partner, and they can all collect information in the farm or in your garden if you want to. So yeah, that's the overall tour of Seedlinked. I would just want to thank so many partners that are helping build this platform to really help trialing. And yeah, time is flying, but so that was an overview of a tool. It's just a tool. It's obviously not for everyone, but I think it can really, really help you as breeding project or trialing organization and to run easier some trial in potentially a much cost-effective way, which really is a goal of Seedlinked, is how can we give power to local independent organizations who may have millions to run breeding or trialing, and have a tool and a platform that really give you this capacity by really bringing grower and seed stakeholder closer together to really build their own local seed system, develop their own local adapted variety, and also being able to share this knowledge to have other people being able to see and access the seed. And so thank you.
Thank you, Nico. Feel free to drop some questions in the chat, or also raise your hand. I'm happy to hear voices as well. I see some questions coming in already. I just wanted to comment, as an organization, when we're managing trials, we often use the Seedlinked app to create a taste test evaluation, which is really fun to do at a public event or even just with a group of your friends. You can make a taste testing app and have a QR code that everybody scans. They get the app, and then in real time, everybody tastes it, and then they get the results emailed to them right afterwards, or you can put it up on a screen and share the results in real time. Some questions coming in though. Nico, can you create trials on the phone app, or do you need to use a computer platform?
Yeah, if you want to run a collaborative trial with many people under a trial manager account, it's only on the web browser. If you're a grower, farmer, or a gardener, and you want to create your own trial for you and invite maybe your staff or colleague, you can do it on your mobile. But because there's a lot happening when you want to run more bigger collaborative trial, we don't have all the feature on the mobile app.
And great. Okay, thanks. So you do need to, as a trial manager, you can sign up as a manager, create your own trial on the computer, but then you can invite people and they can join and participate through their phone.
Exactly. Yeah, when you're invited, you can do via the phone or the web, either way, however you want, on Android or iPhone.
Yeah.
And everything can be on the phone. Yeah, yeah.
One thing I really liked about it is, as Nico was saying, you see in real time who's submitted their data, who their information, their evaluation. So as a trial manager, I can also message people and say, hey, BTW, looks like it's about evaluation time, and I don't see your information in here yet, as a reminder, because farmers get really busy.
Yeah, and you receive, now we have push notifications. So if you allow push notification on the phone, you can have a little popping message. Oh. Hey, it's time to review. I know, Marco, you're super busy, and yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Have you used Seedlinked, Marco?
I haven't. No, I'm very enthralled though. This looks great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. If any of you have questions, feel free to reach out to me and contact me. I can also give tutorial to set you up if you need to.
Thank you. I had a question that the social media app aspect, is that all within the same app, or is that a separate sign up?
That's all. Yeah, it's all the same now, and you will see there's a little feed in the mobile app, and it's kind of it's brand new.
Okay.
Yes, really, Seedlinked is a collaborative platform, but it's also built collaboratively. So we have thousands of people using it and give us feedback, and it's really how it's been built. Really, is by you and by people, and so. Then I'm the one who need to find funding to build it, but and
it is free
design
to join. I'll just put that out there. It is free to join and free to use as a manager, as a tool. Any more questions? Go ahead and drop them in the chat. I had another question. You mentioned that you can, so when you're signing up for a trial, you can also add your own check. Is that true? Is that just for yourself, or does that add it to the trial? If I'm a grower and I got my 3 random varieties, but I want mine in there too, does it go in there?
Yeah, so if let's say I do a Corno di Toro pepper, and for me Carmen is my reference Corno, and it's not on the trial, but I want to add it because I want to compare, I can add it as a farmer, and I will see the results of everyone plus my reference check with my data. But the trial manager, right now, we don't yet agglomerate all the check from all the grower as one reference point yet. And so that's in the queue to inform the trial manager of all the potential check, for example, and how
Gotcha.
to the global. So that is not completed yet. But as a trial manager, you can create a trial, an entry list, and pin a check. This different feature now we just added, where you can do a subset trial where everybody receives a random combination of 3, but everybody will receive a fourth variety that will be constant. Let's say Carmen, everybody receive this Coronel, but the 3 other are random. So again, those are new feature because it's needed. And so, yeah.
We're coming up on time here shortly. Any last comments or questions? I had one more for Marco. You mentioned doing trials with seed companies. Do you have advice on how to cultivate that relationship with seed companies? I don't see that often as something seed companies broadly advertise. How have you developed that opportunity?
I think for us, it was just random luck, I think. I think having a connection with whoever your seed company regional representatives are, that's kind of how I came to one of my relationships, is just having a relationship with the grower rep, like the person who I may have a question about variety. I would contact the Northwest sales representative, and through that relationship, we were asked to do trials. And then, yeah, other companies we had participated in breeding work with them or seed growing or something like that. So we had established a relationship that way.
Okay.
And if you're interested too, more and more small seed company are using Seedling to do their own trial. And so if you're interested, I can also put you into contact if need be.
That'd be great. If you want to drop anything more in the chat, Nico, including maybe your contact information, I did drop in the chat the link on your website to join some of those trials with,
great. Yeah.
with Seed Savers, but I only saw the Moshada and the lettuce trial listed. So I don't know if the others are still open.
Yeah, can I just drop the sign up link in the chat?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, great. I'm going to start then dropping them.
Okay.
Sweet. Thank
Thank
you.
you both for joining us. I really appreciate it. I hope this has been inspiring for all of you to consider. It's still early in the farm planning cycle. There's still probably some room in your field. Not too late. Think about a trial. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Rebecca to take us through the next step of the day.